Hello girlfriends and welcome to another episode of Tracy Gold Show. Do you ever feel like it's just too late for you to do the things that you really want to do or live the life that you really want to live? Well, the good news is it's actually never too late. And today, to join me for this discussion is one of my favorite people, Deborah Darling. She is here. Okay, so Deborah, let me just send you a quick request. Oh, there we go. You've already sent that. And I'm going to let you.
Just takes a second. Okay. Yay! How are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you.
Oh,
Just adjusting myself.
As always, hey Deb. So Deb, I'm so glad to hear that you're well because I know that fairly recently you had COVID and you have fully recovered, right?
I did, and I'm back on my feet. Yes,
Yes.
I think I was.
Awesome.
I know, lucky.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I mean, I have friends who are not so lucky, so really
Yes.
struggling with COVID.
Yeah.
But I believe that the vaccine is coming for people over 50, which is fabulous.
Yeah. It's here. It's here for people over 50. But I can't have mine for 90 days. I need to wait 90 days after having recovered. So I'll have to wait. But I believe I'm in a little bit of a safety bubble at the moment, being having a bit of immunity. So I'm still being very careful, but I just got to wait now. My turn.
Yeah, absolutely. So Deb, I love this. I actually really love this topic of conversation because for so many women, especially at midlife and beyond, you know, actually at any age, they feel like it's just too late for them. They can't do the things that they really want to do. They can't have the life that they really desire. And I think you're a great example and of proof that it's never too late, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think that our society tells us that, you know, we look at, and it was different, I think, for our grandparents. You know, we looked at our grandparents, they all retired at 60 or 55, women, I think, when I was a little girl, and men at 60. So we have this deep held belief that that's it. Put your slippers on and
Put your slippers on.
And well, I've got mine on now, but
yes.
And yeah, your hopes and dreams and things that you wanted to still achieve are too late.
Yeah, it's interesting because times have changed so much, right? And I think for many of us, we're almost struggling a little bit. I almost call us the last generation because we don't have the women ahead of us to show us how it's done, and we're having to figure it out. And you know, the next generation, I think, will have a better idea of how to do these things. But for many of us, we're kind of floundering and saying, well, we aren't like our mothers or our grandmothers, but what are we then?
Yes, it's quite exciting though, isn't it, to sort of be flying the flag for this new idea of another phase. I've heard people talk about it as a third, I think they call it third ages, where we've got our 0 to 30 is one phase, 30 to 60 is another, but there's a whole another new one from 60 onwards to 90 and beyond. We are living a lot longer, and they've done studies and they find that cognitively and physically we are younger for longer.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And so what did that mean for you? Because, I mean, I know a couple of examples that you've shared on the show before, but for those who haven't heard, as example, I know that your fitness journey started in your 50s, right?
Yeah, around about 50. I'd attempted a few of those before, but they'd never really got off the ground.
That sounds like a whole other discussion.
Well, they never really got off the couch, maybe.
Maybe.
But I made another attempt around when I was 50. But I think that it coincided with starting to understand that my body, that it was such a gift that my body worked and that I started walking in the mornings before work, as I still had a sort of 9 to 5 job. And I started walking in the morning, really just for 20 minutes, just around the block, come back. And then it started getting a bit boring. So I started sort of running to the lamppost or running to the dustbin or whatever it was. And it sort of increased like that. but it was combined with the realization. I think we spoke before about how I lost my sister and a good friend in that year when I was leading up to 50, and I was feeling that I was dreading 50. So and when those things happened, I started appreciating, different things and things about my body, and realizing, how lucky, instead of sort of having this loathing for my body, having this respect that it was carrying me, and that it allowed me to laugh and dance, and not dance very well, but and that it allowed me to it allows me to love and to have had a child, and all of these things that, and we berate our bodies, for the lumps and bumps and the things that it can't do. But I started thinking about, and that combined, and I think that helped me with my fitness journey as well, because I started realizing how beautiful, and going walking in the mornings and seeing the sun rising, sometimes, and the birds singing, and having an appreciation for what I had really helped.
I think that's beautiful, because I think that what it is, it's a reframing. It's a reframing of what is really going on, as opposed to saying, well, I'm not in my 20s any longer, going, I'm not in my 20s any longer, and look what I can still do.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you were even there, after losing your much younger sister, and like you said, another friend, it gave you a different appreciation.
Yeah, completely different idea. And I realized that what a gift to be able to walk around the block. Instead of feeling, oh my goodness, I have to go and exercise now. Yeah. What a wonderful privilege to be able to do that my body carried me for that. So I think that was the start of it. That's start incredible. Of the never too late idea.
Yeah. And Deborah, do you think that, also it's interesting because you have had COVID, you're in South Africa. So do you think that, I know in the US, we're coming out of that now, we reopened, but I'm also wondering if there are many women who are thinking, wow, I survived this. Now what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Because for so many years, I think we have really berated ourselves and wished that we were something other than we were, wished that we were somewhere else than we were. And, but the fact is, we've survived it. We're still here, and we've got many years to live still, hopefully.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do with that?
Yeah, I think it's a mixed bag. I think there's so many of us who are, sorry, I've got a residual cough.
That's okay.
So many of us who are, it's a tough time now. I think we're going into sort of heading towards 18 months of not seeing our people enough, and working from home, which is not easy for everybody, and all of those things. But as you say, and having lost people and having seen the suffering that's still going on, but as you say, there've also been wonderful stories. People, you're sort of realizing all the good things and becoming more mindful and really appreciating the small things. I think that's so important, and this has drawn our attention to that. So there are wonderful stories coming out of it as well. But it's still. We've got a long way to go.
Yes, I know.
It's not good here at the moment. It's very sad, when the restaurants and things close down, so many people's livelihoods just stop. So it's tough. Yeah.
And Deborah, just within, to acknowledge that I think it's for us to also be aware that in different parts of the world, it's a different reality, right? And because I have loved ones in South Africa, I have a friend who's in hospital, who's struggling to breathe. I have a friend's husband who died last week. It's very real.
It's real, very real.
And it is also reminding me again, because I think it's easy as I come out of it, like, oh yay, and then forget all I learned, when I'm out of the trauma. But to remind myself to really appreciate what we have, to really live in where we are and in the space that we are, and to have a greater appreciation.
It's such a cliche, it's such, I know it's become a cliche that we live in the now, and now's all we've got. But I think it has helped us to tune into that, and to just really sort of listen to the birds singing outside, and the things that we took for granted. Yeah, it's a strange time.
Yeah. So Deborah, what is another idea of times that you have really been very clear that it's never too late for you, and you've taken some action?
I I think that I had a really big leap of confidence, took a leap of faith, should I say, when I left my job. I'd always worked for a company, always. Never imagined that I wouldn't. So to leave my job and to strike out alone in my 50s was quite something.
Wow, that is a big deal. Yes.
Because I think some people are entrepreneurial and it's not for them. It's not a big deal, but for me it was. I loved the company I worked for. I liked being there at the time. I had to be there, so it's quite different for me. So that was a big thing, and another big change that happened to me and that was very difficult at the time was getting divorced in my mid-40s. That was hard. I never expected that to happen because I just didn't. But it showed me that in my late 40s I could start a whole new life and be independent, and it was. So I thought it was too late at the time, and I was very, very sad for a very long time. But it was absolutely not too late. I think we can fall in love again at any time and start a business or get fit or all of those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I love that, Deborah, because I think those two things are a lot of things that people are going through right now. I mean, even, I was talking to relationship therapists last week about COVID and how it's affected relationships. And, we're all stuck inside with one another. And that was like really interesting. I mean, for you guys, still really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And, she was saying how unnatural that is. And it's almost like too much for us to be, it's good for us to be independent, to have our own time. And then, also to go through when a relationship ends and you're not expecting it or wanting it, and it is what it is. So how do you kind of navigate that when things are out of your control?
Do you mean with, I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not with you.
So sometimes we have the control, like for instance, the fitness idea is fully within your control, provided that you're healthy enough to do so. But what happens when there's things that are thrust upon us, like say your divorce, and it's not within your control, and yet still you come to that place of it's never too late?
Well, I think we always do have an element of control. I read somewhere once that we often think we don't have a choice. We often think that this is that there is only one choice. But I read, I don't know which book it was, but it said that we normally have about 5. And some of them we wouldn't entertain. Yeah. We wouldn't entertain those choices. But just to know that other things do exist, I think is quite empowering, and to write them down and say, okay, well, those are things I could do. I mean, I don't know if I do want to sell my children, but I could.
Or end up as a stripper in a club or
whatever, but we do have choices. So that's something, and also that we can control. It's another thing that's become a bit of a cliche, but we can control how we deal with things and how we react. So I think that gives one some control. If you can not let the uncontrollable take over you and how you're feeling and how you deal with it. Easy to say, of course, a little bit less easy to do, but yeah, and I think feeling out of control is such a hard thing, and I think that's why this situation is so hard, because we do feel like we're not in control of it, but we can control ourselves and how we feel and the little things we do, and that's I think important. Yeah, I love that. And then let's speak about your entrepreneurial journey, because I think many women because I mean I know so Deborah, in the US, and this is different because you and I both, you're still in South Africa. I lived most of my life in South Africa, and most of my entrepreneurial journey was in South Africa. Many of us in South Africa had to actually be entrepreneurial because there were no jobs, right? We had to create jobs. I mean, for you, it was different, but I do find South Africans generally very entrepreneurial. Not so much in the US, but COVID has shifted that too.
And I've
Interesting.
seen many women, especially women over 40, the ones that have either lost their jobs, had to leave their jobs because they were caring for either an adult, a parent or the children, managing the whole working from home, plus dealing with kids' education, etc. So many women are in that space of entrepreneurship, whether by choice or by circumstance. What kind of, can you speak a little bit about your process or your process through that?
I never saw myself as being entrepreneurial at all. People used to say, no, of course you are, you've got good ideas and this and that, but I never really saw it coming at all. And it's taken me probably, I haven't had a 9-to-5 now for about 3 or 4 years. And it's taken me probably this long to get my head around the fact that, okay, I do work for myself. It's very different. And for me, I don't think I set out to it sort of happened a little bit inadvertently for me. It just happened that I started having too much to do for Deborah Darling and for those things, and the balance sort of tipped. I didn't set out planning to start a business at all. So I'm quite surprised to find that I've sort of got one. Someone said the other day to me, she said, Deborah, you are actually a businesswoman. You've got, and I said, goodness, have I? Because it's happened. It sort of happened by accident, and it wasn't something I planned. But I am enjoying it, and I am enjoying so many aspects of it. Quite surprised. But I am enjoying, and there's so many beautiful stories about I love lockdown business stories. Oh my goodness!
I think that should be a series. I think that needs to be a series. Lockdown business.
I know. There's a brothers up the road, and I need to get their full story, who've started a sourdough bread business, and it is the most delicious sourdough bread I've had. And it was a lockdown story. They started baking bread because they weren't working. I don't know their full story, but it just warms my heart. And here's this thriving, beautiful business that came from a bad, place.
Yeah.
So
from a very difficult situation.
From a very difficult situation. I can only
And so,
imagine.
Deborah, what made that shift for you? So you were working and you were doing Deborah Darling and building that up. And at some point you got to that, okay, now I need to choose. Was that how it worked for you?
Yeah, there was just too much. There was just too much going on. There was another little business that sort of started out in the interim, a styling business, because I've always been interested in styling. Although I don't think I am a stylist or could be a stylist, but that's another story for another day.
It's never too late, Deborah.
Well, it's never too late. It's never too late. But we started, me and somebody else started a sort of, we're dabbling in a little styling business, which I don't know if we didn't give enough time, but it didn't get legs and didn't go. And then Deborah Darling started sort of being, and it takes up a lot of my time, actually. You'd be quite surprised probably how much time I spend just keeping Deborah Darling going. Just talking to people and answering messages and things. So yeah, I don't know what I thought would happen or how it would pan out, really. But and now I'm here. Now I know this is where I am and this is what I have to do, and I've got lots of little different things going on that keep me busy, and I'm enjoying it.
That's amazing.
But it is still a little bit of a surprise. I know that you've always been an entrepreneur, haven't you?
Yes.
You've always.
Yeah, pretty much. I've hardly ever had jobs. I really suck at having jobs.
Yeah.
I can't get hired.
Yes.
And every time I've tried, I've thought, okay, I need to leave this entrepreneurial journey and go and get a job. I can never find one. It's like, and corporations won't touch people who have been entrepreneurs for so long, because you've got to put, what is your forte? And like, well, I've done this and 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 this. Like, I can do everything in the business because I've had to, so it is a different thing to create a business and to learn all the different things, but it's also never too late. I started my business in my late 20s and then had to bring it, shut it down again, rebuild it up. Then I moved to New York in my 40s.
So you've also done a whole reboot, really. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I came to New York in 2018 for the first time, fell in love with it, knew we had to move. I phoned my husband, I'm like, we have to move here. We had no idea how, I mean, my husband's 11 and a half years older than me as well. So, I mean, we completely rebooted and then finally started finding my feet. And, I was hired by Katy Perry to represent her shoe collection on QVC, and everything was coming together. And then bang, here comes COVID. Like it shuts down. Everything's been on pause, still waiting for that, but look at what it's created. And I think I'm so grateful for this show, because had this not that I'm grateful for COVID at all, but had I not kind of been pushed into those places of like, well, what's next, I may not have created the show.
Yeah, we've all had to stretch ourselves a little bit, haven't we? I think even more so now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so what are you being stretched with now?
What am I being stretched with now? Goodness. Well, at this very moment, I'm trying to understand the new EU VAT laws. That's a bit of a story for my shop, because there's a whole lot of new things that have come in. So I'm trying to understand those. Yes. What else am I being stretched with? I just had a little slot on a TV show, which I couldn't talk about before. So it's a very small little bit. But that was I mean, that was different and required me to find different aspects of myself. Quite nerve-wracking.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever done television before, Deborah?
No, not at all. So that was
amazing.
That was quite. You've done lots of television, haven't you? I should have come to you for tips.
You should have. You should have been on speed dial with me.
I should have. Yeah. No. So at the moment, I don't have any sort of projects that I'm. And it's just the day-to-day things. But I mean, I'm always being challenged myself. I'm trying to hone my video editing skills more, and I'm sort of trying to grow all the things that I do. All the time, but no one big although there was something quite exciting. I don't know if you saw this week that I sent my photograph into Sari for the cover. Well, it's Afrikaans, so what do they call it? Yeah, voorblad gesig, I think.
Okay.
And then I sent my photograph in because a friend said to me, "You've got to do it." He said it to me last year as well, and I said, "Yeah." And anyway, she said, "You've got to do it." So I sent my photograph in, and I'm in the top 40. So I don't know what's going to happen. So it's the first round of the judging or however that I don't know how they did it. So now I need to make another video for them, which I'll do tomorrow, and so that's something different. I don't know where it's going to go.
I love that you are, as these opportunities come up and as these things come, you just go, okay, well, don't know how to do that, have never done that before, have had very little experience, let's do it anyway, it could be fun.
And look, I know we don't want to say too old, but I mean, I am much, much older than anybody else in the lineup, much older. But I thought, oh, well.
I think that's fantastic.
Let's just see what happens.
It's so interesting because I have found, I watch a lot of what's going on in the media and in a whole bunch of, on various different platforms. And I am seeing a huge shift in women at midlife and beyond stepping into their power and stepping up, becoming the face of their brands, really starting to talk about menopause, talk about aging, talk about exactly the difference between middle age and the third age, starting to say, hey guys, everybody, world, we are not going away. We are alive, we are vibrant, and we are not invisible.
Absolutely.
And taking up that space. And I think it's so encouraging to see that. And I think more of us need to do that.
Yes. Well, it is. I mean, it is up to us. We often say, women say that, I feel invisible, but and of course that does happen. I mean, I can feel it if I'm at a table in a restaurant and there's younger people. You can see that the person who's serving you eyes sort of slide over you. Often, it happens sometimes because they dismiss you a little bit. But it is up to us to put on that big purple hat and say, oh, no.
I love that.
No,
that big purple hat.
no, I'm not, I mean, it is, we do have some control over it, and it's up to us to, and that's why Instagram is such a wonderful, social media, but Instagram in particular is such a wonderful platform for that, because the women here, wow, there's some powerful women.
There are some amazing,
speaking about
women.
some very, very important things. And I absolutely love that. And we've got the silver movement, but we've got so many others, as you say, talking about menopause, talking about sex, talking about relationships, talking about gender. There's so many important topics that are here, and people are standing up and saying, no.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, so for those of you who are feeling stuck or feeling like you want to move, but it's too late, or just not sure if it is, or, turn to those platforms, turn to those communities. There's also amazing Facebook pages of women over 50. I mean, you just have to do a very little bit of research and you'll find it. Or, just like keep watching this show.
Yes.
Well, and you'll find a myriad
that's the other
of
thing.
women. I mean,
absolutely.
Like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is all women like you, Deborah, who are telling our stories, stepping up into our, our real strength and our power to inspire all of you out there as well to say you can do the same.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. I mean, it's people, a lot of people are, I'm not on social media, whatever, but I think if you're not on social media, you're missing out on so much learning. And tapping into things that you hadn't, that you hadn't thought about, issues that are new and are wonderful to expose ourselves to.
Yeah, and we can constantly learn new things and be exposed to different ways of thinking and different ways of being, and in ways that we never would have thought possible. So. Deb, I see all these people just going, you're such an inspiration. You're so amazing.
So
we
sweet.
all love you.
There's my friend Mpumi. Hello.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Deb, thank you so much once again for coming on. We just absolutely love having you here every month, because it's normally the first Tuesday of the month. And I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much.
It's such fun.
It is fun. I know. We should, I'm looking forward to the day that we do meet, and then we'll have to do one sitting in the same room. We'll have to.
Exactly. Well, I have a few things up my sleeve, Deb. So we'll be chatting soon.
Good.
And then once you get your vaccine, you get your waiting period over, I know you'll be right in line, and then you can come, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah, let's hope that'll all start shifting soon. Thank you, Tracy. Yes. It's left to
Thank you so much.
Chat again.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.